this show, we simply are all about the facts. Welcome, guys, to How the Frack We Got Here, a show that takes the news and events of the week and try to make sense out of it all. I'm your host, the most Will Buchanan, and on this show, we simply are all about the facts. There are plenty of news stations out there that simply want to do anything short but inform you. Here at How the Frack We Got Here, that's all we believe in. We go up to the left, we go up to the right, we go up to the middle of independence. We go up to all sides because there's more than one side of a story to everything, and you need to know it all in order to actually formulate your own opinion. And that's what we try to do here at How the Frack We Got Here. Thanks for listening, and hold on, it's gonna be fun.
All right, guys, today's date, June 25th, 2025, and this is How the Frack We Got Here. I'm your host, the most Will Buchanan on the Frack We Got Here. We do take the events of the week and try to make sense of it all. Before we do get started, guys, let you know we do pride ourselves on being a news podcast, which means we only cite from the most reputable sources. We do not do sensational news like Fox News, The Blaze, The Daily Beast, wherever you get your extreme left or extreme right views from. We simply don't do it. At the same time, guys, when you try to watch your language, but let's be honest, words fly. At the same time, guys, maybe things that might be shown that might be too intense for younger viewers. So viewer discretion is advised. Aside from that, welcome. So there's no other way we can get to this, guys, except to get to the elephant in the room. Apparently, we are now entering World War III.
Following that massive attack, the question this morning, did those U.S. military strikes deliver a final blow to Iran's nuclear program?
Iran's nuclear ambitions have been obliterated.
The nation's top military official offering a more nuanced view.
Final battle damage will take some time, but initial battle damage assessments indicate that all three sites sustained extremely severe damage.
It was just after midnight Saturday morning, U.S. Air Force stealth B-2 bombers took off from the U.S. under the cover of darkness. Defense officials said they were headed to Guam, and while everyone was looking west, 7 bombers quietly flew in the opposite direction, straight to Iran. Flying in near silence to avoid detection, the bombers began their 36-hour round-trip flight, joining up with dozens of tankers to refuel them in the air and fighter jets flying security alongside them. The B-2s dropping 14 massive ordnance penetrators, 30,000-pound bombs known as bunker busters, on Iranian nuclear sites at Fordo and Natanz, just as 30 Tomahawk missiles fired from a U.S. Navy submarine crashed down on a third site at Isfahan.
This operation was designed to severely degrade Iran's nuclear weapons infrastructure.
The question now, what comes next? Vice President Vance and the Defense Secretary have said the U.S. is not seeking regime change in Iran. But President Trump is now leaving the door open to that happening, posting, if the current Iranian regime is unable to make Iran great again, why wouldn't there be a regime change? And with concerns that Iran could retaliate, some Republicans on Capitol Hill criticizing the U.S. strikes.
We are tired from all of these wars, and we're non-interventionists.
Now, these bunker busters were uniquely suited for this mission. They're really the only conventional weapon in the world that can take on the Iranian underground nuclear facilities. Then the big question now, will Iran retaliate? And if so, where, when, and how? In the meantime, the U.S. military in the Middle East is at their highest state of alert, and the State Department now issuing a new alert urging increased caution for Americans overseas.
Well, the crazy part about this is the bunker buster weapon that they actually were using has not been tested. That's actually the first time it's ever actually one of 2 times it's being tested out in the field. And yeah, an untested weapon that you're trying to hit supposedly facilities that are miles underground or buried deep within a mountain, and you're trying to basically blow up an Iranian program. This comes after, Taco sat there and said, well, we're considering it. We're not in a war with Iran because Israel and their welfare queen, Netanyahu, decided that he wanted to go with our war with Iran because he believes that Iran is close to basically building a nuclear bomb off his own intelligence. This, unfortunately, and I say this all the time whenever it comes to Israel and the U.S., I don't know what they have on us as a country, but Israel is the biggest welfare queen of the United States. Netanyahu, that's why I call Netanyahu a welfare queen, because for some odd reason, the U.S. backs Israel in funding, weapons, military bases, things of that nature. And a lot of people are going to sit there and say, well, Will, if you were in the military, you would understand that Israel is a strategic area in the Middle East. Okay. So's 19 other areas the U.S. can be a part of. But for some odd reason, we have to protect the Holy Land because, well, Christianity is still a twisted ass religion. That also being said, it amazes me now that Iran has been developing a nuclear program through now going on 3 presidents. And because Taco again is with us, wasn't even thinking apparently of Iran at the time, but Netanyahu decided to. Even more so, Netanyahu and Israel were the first. They threw the first punch at Iran. Iran retaliated. Israel, they hit us. And all of a sudden, now the U.S. is involved because now we've supposedly hit one of their nuclear facilities, which, come to find out, didn't do a lot of damage. So imagine flying 36 hours to drop a bomb, not to realize that, well, we didn't do spit. At the same time, you have a lot of Americans who are now wondering, are we in World War III? Whereas I keep on saying this before I get to JD Vance and his dumbass response to this. All you Facebook keyboard warriors out there, I hope the draft comes for you guys. I hope it does. Because you guys are always talking about, well, we need to have a warrior mentality. Pete Hegseth was right. I hope you're all enlisted. Because it's the same Pete Hegseth and Trump that decided that transgenders do not belong in the military. Even had them retire out of the military. So your warrior mentality to all you Facebook commandos out there, I hope you get drafted and I hope you get to see war full time because this is what you asked for. Now, the reason why I bring up the vice president is, well, because of his answer. Are we at war with Iran? And this dumbass, well, just listen.
First question, Mr. Vice President, is the United States now at war with Iran?
No, Kristen, we're not at war with Iran. We're at war with Iran's nuclear program. And let me just say, Kristen, that we're incredibly grateful and proud of the American Air Force pilots who did an incredible job last night. The operation was really extraordinary. These guys flew from Missouri. They didn't land a single time. They dropped 30,000-pound bombs on a target the size of a washing machine and then got back home safely without ever landing in the Middle East or ever stopping other than to briefly refuel. And of course, they did that in the air. So it's really an incredible operation, a testament to the power of American military. And I think what shows what can happen when you have that great American military in the hands of capable presidential leadership. What we did is we destroyed the Iranian nuclear program. I think we set that program back substantially, and we did it without endangering the lives of the American pilots. That's an incredible thing, and I think we all should be proud. Whatever our politics, we should be proud of what these guys accomplished. A very, very high impact mission.
Oh dear God! It's a simple question. Is the U.S. at war with Iran? Is the U.S. at war with Iran? Oh, well, we're not. We're at war with Iran's nuclear program. And let me also get on my knees and glaze the massive orifices of the United States military and letting them know that, yes, I will continue to gargle and shaft. That's what it is. Dude couldn't even answer a simple question. What about their nuclear program that makes them a threat? He couldn't answer the question. Instead, it was a diatribe of just, we love the troops. And I'm going to be honest, no, you don't. You don't. Because thanks to Trump basically targeting Iran and bombing them, Iran bombed U.S. military bases. So again, action, reaction. You don't love the troops. You put the troops in harm's way for no reason. And yes, we are in the middle of World War III at this point because now we got beef because Israel dragged us into it. And instead of our president, well, let's be honest, Taco will never stand 10 toes down unless it's for himself. It's going to go right along with it, talking about MIGA. I was like, did this dude just say MIGA? I'm like, you're one letter too close. too close, Trump, but try to say, make Iran great again. Are you effing kidding? But the cold day in hell segment of this, I am surprised because of all people, crazy tinfoil hat lady that somehow still keeps getting reelected in her own state of Georgia, Marjorie Taylor Greene. This was the first response that she had to the bombing in Iran.
Tell you what, 6 months in, Steve, and here we are turning back on the campaign promises, and we bombed Iran on behalf of Israel. Yes, it was on behalf of Israel. We're entering a nuclear war, the World War III, because the entire world is going to erupt. And you want to know the people that are cheering it on right now? Their tune is going to drastically change the minute we start seeing flag draped coffins on the nightly news. Tell you what,
crazy, isn't it? That was her on the day of the bombing.
Tell you what,
that was her on the day of the bombing. And if you want to know, has her tune changed? Yeah, her tune changed because she got told differently. Oh, well, you can't be seen going against the president. I mean, not like the 128 Democrats that voted not to impeach. But we'll get to that momentarily because, again, that was some bullshit. That also being said, Taco was asked about this ceasefire because this is what this idiot tried to do. He tried to sit there and say, I bombed Iran and I'm now calling for peace. And Iran, Israel, I am calling for a ceasefire. And people ran with it. People that I love ran with it. And I'm going to be honest, I am one to debate. I am one to argue because I believe in arguing facts. I don't believe in arguing misinformation. That Taco, in all of his stupidity, was trying to claim victory before he even had confirmation. Oh, well, there's a ceasefire. Israel and Iran have agreed to it. And anytime Taco says something, I have always said this. If Taco's claimed something, what did the other side say? Because I said this in my Facebook post. He claimed from the White House there is a ceasefire between Iran and Israel and that it should go on forever. Neither Iran, neither Israel have both come out and said that we agree to the ceasefire. Neither. We know what they said? We won't retaliate as long as the other side does. That doesn't sound like you agreed to something. That sounds like you're pretty much saying, if they jump, we jump. That's not a ceasefire. A ceasefire means that you're trying to actually find, some common ground. You're actually trying to avoid a war. And it kills me that people still believe, well, that was just a great negotiating on his part. No, it wasn't. It was stupidity. Because here's my thing. You, above all else, cannot bomb somebody and then turn around and sit there and say, oh, mission successful. No, that's not peace. That's you saying, I'm going to do this, which, by the way, he violated his own war powers, which is another reason why people are kind of pissed. Because for the simple fact of the matter, guys, is just that it's just that for simple fact of the matter, there is certain things that you have to do before you can do any type of attacks on the war, attack war-wise. That being said, Taco said, screw it, I'm just gonna do a bombing run. And I've heard people, well, other presidents have done it too. No, Bush during Operation Desert Shield, which Operation Desert Storm, did seek congressional approval. Even Clinton, during his wartime, sought congressional approval. Bush 2.0, again, for Iraq, sought congressional approval. President Obama, during his time, sought congressional approval. So it amazes me that everybody's sitting there saying, well, if it was done by previous presidents, why did Taco do it as a problem? This is why misinformation is key. Misinformation is what we try to avoid on this show. I will always try to make sure that any information that we provide comes from a place of factual sounding, and the fact that, hey, we can bring this up and say we found it here. The problem is Taco decided to basically act like a dictator. He acted like a dictator instead of a president. That's why a lot of people are sitting there saying he did not have the ability to do this. He should have been stopped. Truly stopped. And again, an impeachable offense. But before we get to the impeachment, I love how he tried to say during the ceasefire announcement that he is mad at both Iran and Israel, and also said that they don't know what the frack they're doing.
Iran violated the peace agreement and the ceasefire agreement. Do you believe that Iran is still committed to the peace?
Yeah, I do. They violated it, but Israel violated it too.
Are you questioning if Israel is committed?
Israel, as soon as we made the deal, they came out and they dropped a load of bombs, the likes of which I've never seen before. The biggest load that we've seen. I'm not happy with Israel. You know, when I say, okay, now you have 12 hours, you don't go out in the first hour and just drop everything you have on them. So I'm not happy with them. I'm not happy with Iran either. But I'm really unhappy if Israel's going out this morning because the one rocket that didn't land, that was shot, perhaps by mistake, that didn't land. I'm not happy about that. You know what? We basically have two countries that have been fighting so long and so hard that they don't know what they're doing. Do you understand that? I don't think so, but I'm not happy that Israel's going out now. There was one rocket that I guess was fired overboard. It was after the time limit, and it missed its target. And now Israel's going out. These guys got to calm down. Ridiculous. I didn't like plenty of things I saw yesterday. I didn't like the fact that Israel unloaded right after we made the deal. They didn't have to unload. And I didn't like the fact that the retaliation was very strong. But in all fairness, Israel unloaded a lot. And now I hear Israel just went out because they felt it was violated by one rocket that didn't land anywhere. That's not what we want, I'll tell you. And I'm telling you, I'm not happy about that, Israel, either.
You urge both sides not to violate the ceasefire, but reports coming from the region suggest that the sides accuse each other for violating the ceasefire. So
I think they both violated it. I'm not sure they did it intentionally. They couldn't rein people back. I don't like the fact that Israel went out this morning at all, and I'm going to see if I can stop it. So as soon as I get away from you, I'm going to see if I can stop it. Okay.
He, in fact, did not stop it. And I love how, I forget the fact of his actions. You stirred the freaking pot. You literally stirred the freaking pot, and now you want to go in and be like, there's certain things that we couldn't do, that could do and could not do. Oh, you could. It kills me how they try to sit there and say, oh, well, there's certain things that we could have done and we couldn't have done. Yeah, you could have. You could have saved a lot of time. You really and truly could have saved everybody a lot of time. And the more time, and then here's the crazy part, the fact that you are literally and figuratively trying to blame both sides. They've been fighting for so long, they don't know why. No, sir, you don't know why. There's a reason why we keep on saying, had we just stayed out the Middle East, had we just stayed out, I'm almost certain the turmoil would have fixed itself. But as long as we're engaged in the Middle East, there will always be war. Why? Conflict and money and oil, which again, we'll get to that in a little bit. But to switch gears for a second, does anybody remember that there was an impeachment vote on Taco this week? That was actually brought up by Representative Al Green in the House of Representatives. Well, here's the thing that you should know. And this is the part where I'm just going to just bring this up for a second. There was an impeachment vote that was submitted by Representative Al Green out of Texas. Here's the crazy part, okay? The vote ended in 344 to 79, okay? We already knew the Republicans will never impeach Taco, no matter how bad he messes up. Taco could literally take a dump on the Constitution in front of the White House for the world to see, and Republicans will never vote to impeach him. Okay? We understand that. We settled it. It's cool. Now, 79. 79 Democrats voted for impeachment. Now, a lot of people are wondering, well, that's a little off because aren't there, yes, if you're wondering, more Democrats? Because 128 Democrats joined the majority ran Republicans. 128. And here, right here, guys, I just want to present the list. I will, again, Pete Aguilar, California, Gabe Ammo out of Rhode Island, Nikki Buzinski out of Illinois. I'm just going through the ones that I'm just shocked about. Jim Clyburn out of South Carolina. Mr. Clyburn, sir, you voted not? Okay. Jim Costa, surprised, out of California. Bill Foster out of Illinois. Lizzie Fletcher out of Texas. These are supposedly names, major names of the Democratic Party. These individuals voted not to impeach. Ro Khanna voted not to impeach. Nancy Pelosi voted not to impeach. I mean, guys, I can't stress this enough. This whole list, the list out there is for the world to see. And what's crazy about this is, guys, 128 Democrats voted not to impeach. Not. And I know a lot of people are saying, well, even if all the Democrats voted, Republicans have majority, it would have never went to impeachment. It's about perception. Action is perception. Democrats, for like the last 6 months, Jesus, it's only been 6 months, have been on this resist. We have sat there and said we will resist Taco and his administration on many levels. The people have already shown that with the No Kings protest not too long ago. The thing that kills me is Democrats, all of them, should be on board with this. This should have been a full-on, we are all voting to impeach him. And yes, it could have been the majority, but it's all about perception. If Democrats are determined that Taco and his administration should be drastically changed by next year, because next year is the midterms, which means every seat in the House, every seat in the Senate is up for grabs. It's the midterms. That being said, Democrats should actually show a unified front and say, yes, we reject him as our president. Instead, you have 128 Democrats who, again, the list is out there, guys, for the world to see. Google search will help you with it. That 128 Democrats who could have used their voice and their platform and said, we will vote to impeach, even if it meant nothing. But trust and believe that same list of individuals needs to be held accountable come midterms, where they should be relieved of their duties. Because if these people are not following, if these people are not out there really doing what we need them to do to be our voices, they don't need to be our representatives. Simple and plain. But figuring out the world though, because with Iran and Israel going to war in the Middle East, you know what that means? Gas prices are going up.
Is now a major point of focus after the U.S. struck 3 of Iran's nuclear sites. Experts say the spike in oil price would certainly depend on how Iran chooses to retaliate. Robert McNally, the founder and president of Rapidan Energy Group, joins me now for more on this. Robert, Iranian state media is now reporting that Iran will close the Strait of Hormuz. That seems to be extremely consequential, at least for the conversation that we are having.
Right, and good to be with you, Phil. As your colleague pointed out, the parliament in Iran does not get the last say. Any decision to disrupt shipping in the Strait of Hormuz would have to be made by the supreme leader. And I think he'll be cautious about doing that. Iran exports all of its oil through the Strait of Hormuz, and attempting to close the strait would invite full retaliation from the United States and our allies. Now, they have the means to do it. They could disrupt flow from the strait for weeks, I believe, if they do it. But I think they're going to be cautious, and I would not bet the farm on this parliament's action today.
So it's crazy that at the same time that whenever war erupts in the Middle East, gas prices will go up because oil prices will go up because those same regimes unfortunately control the oil fields and the access to where those tankers can come in and out. So another thing that unfortunately Taco did not consider when he wanted to join the sandbox with everybody else, that now we're going to wind up paying more at the pump because he wanted to pay the price of admission just to join everybody else. But I digress. That also being said, we move on to his big, beautiful disaster. Again, that bill is still being talked about in the Senate. It was pushed through by the House thanks to his cheerleader, Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. So now people are wondering, should we be concerned about the bill that's currently being discussed, and will it be changed in the Senate? Both answers are yes, and both answers are bound to screw people over.
Finance Committee are unveiling proposed changes to President Trump's so-called Big Beautiful Bill. Those changes to Medicaid, tax cuts, and the debt limit could set up a potential clash with House Republicans. ABC News Washington managing editor Catherine Falders has the details for us. Hi, Catherine. So what are some of the biggest changes they're making here to this mega bill, and how do you think this is going to go over in the House?
Yeah, it's a good question. And as you note, it does set up a potential clash with the House and also with the White House. There are a bunch of changes here. For example, the Senate version makes tax cuts permanent, whereas if you look at the House version, that sunsets them. You're also dealing with differences in the Senate as it relates to changes to the provider tax Medicaid provisions. That drops that percentage from 6 to 3.5%. SALT, we've talked a lot about those. For example, the debt hike the debt limit hike in the Senate bill is $5 trillion as opposed to $6 trillion. And the reality here is that they are making a lot of changes in the Senate side, and it will set up a clash with the House, for example, and even with the White House, as Trump obviously has endorsed that House-backed plan that's gone over to the Senate. We expected this; it could potentially ping pong back and forth. But the reality is, John Thune and the Senate side is dealing with a very slim majority, so it is going to be a pretty tough and tricky path ahead for him to get this passed through the Senate.
And Majority Leader John Thune could only afford to lose 3 Republican senators to get this bill passed. How much support does this version have?
Well, it's a good question, because after this version from the Senate Finance Committee was released, you did see some senators come out against this, for example. Obviously, Thune is confident they can get this thing over the line, but as usual, it'll be tricky for him with this margin. For example, Senator Ron Johnson said he's a no right now because the cuts aren't steep enough. We've talked a lot about Rand Paul. Rand Paul likely won't support this bill because it includes a debt limit hike. Rick Scott, he's another one. So again, the margin is very, very small here. So John Thune does have a lot of work to do behind the scenes to see if he can get his members on board.
So again, for all those that don't know, they're trying to actually use reconciliation. Reconciliation is basically a process in the Senate where the bill does have to be streamlined, and that every Republican senator will need to vote on it. And if every Republican senator does vote on it, it can pass without any help from the Democratic side of the Senate. The problem is, just like what the Democrats had, because they had a couple of senators that decided they were more Republican than Democrat, couldn't pass things through. Republicans could run to the same thing if 3 of their group decide that, no, this bill isn't going to do it for me. And that's the problem in the Senate, because you have 3 Republicans are saying the bills are not steep, the bill cuts are not steep enough. Keep in mind, for all those that don't remember, this bill that Taco loves so much is going to put a lot of people off Medicare and Medicaid, is going to force retirees that if they do want those benefits to actually still continue working. They're also going to hinder children. They're also going to remove a lot of tax cuts if they haven't already, from middle and lower class, while giving the top 1% all the tax cuts, as well as lowering the corporate rate, making the 2017 cuts that Taco first put in permanent. And just to add a cherry on top, guys, for you people who have student loans, you're basically the same boat as me. Well, here's what's going to happen. That's also included in this big ass beautiful bill, which means that what happens is that the repayment plans that are currently in there, like the income payment repayment plan, the public self payment plans that are currently in there for student loan debt, If the Republicans have it their way, those bills, those plans for paying back student loan debt would disappear, which means you would be paying more and longer to basically pay off the debts. And again, this comes after a person who should not be definitely Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon, whose sole purpose is to deconstruct the Department of Education, which come to find out they cannot do, but they're stripping it from the inside. They are wanting to keep those who took student loans in debt. Because again, those in debt will always continue to pay. Those who are not in debt, or only for a finite amount of time, will eventually stop paying. This is the reason why they want more renters than homeowners. Renters are forever streams of constant revenue. Homeowners, for a certain amount of time, they'll be paying until, well, they own the home and then no more money from them. The same way with student loans. The one thing that Republicans will never admit that they love student loans. They love predatory lending. They love the fact that 18-year-olds who may not have a lot of means or want to go to college or things of that nature, but just do not have a financial way to go because the cost of higher education is getting higher and higher. At the same time, the education is still the freaking same, but I digress. They want debt. They want people in debt. Republicans want people in debt, especially when it comes to student loans, because the kickbacks they get from these companies, the banks that offer predatory lending, which again, student loans are predatory, is predatory lending, is predatory lending. At the same time, if you can get a student on the hook for a large amount of money, because they will give an 18-year-old $20,000 to $30,000. It's amazing. You'll give an 18-year-old $20,000 to $30,000 a semester to go to college, but you won't give them $20,000 or $1,000, just $20,000 to $30,000 to start their own business. You won't, because again, that business can be successful. They pay back the loan, and then, well, the money they make after that is their own. Whereas a student that's always in debt, well, he has debt tied around his neck that will fall from the rest of his days, will affect how he gets a house, a credit card, a job, things of that nature. It will affect them for the rest of their days. And Republicans want that because Republicans love people in debt. They love people in the struggle. And I used to say all Republicans, but now after that, the fact I've seen 128 Democrats vote not to impeach, it might be some Democrats too. And it's the reason why they should be exposed. But yes, that's now added to the bill that's out there, and you should be concerned. Because if that bill passes, we are literally heading for Great Depression Part 2. I'm just being honest with you, because that's exactly what's going to happen. And those same Republicans, if they do push that through, yes, come midterms, we could, if everybody does their part, we could have a democratically controlled Senate and House that will have to do the job that I'll probably have to spend the next 2 years cleaning up a 6-month, close to a 1 year mess. Because again, Taco's only been in office for 6 months. That's why I'm like, it feels like 2 years, but it's been 6 months. That alone tells you of half the damage this man has done in a record amount of time. Not to mention the dangers of a Supreme Court, as I keep saying, guys, of a conservative-leaning Supreme Court, has now given the green light to fast forward Taco in his massive Stephen Miller dream of deporting illegal immigrants.
The Supreme Court handed a legal victory to the Trump administration, allowing for the deportation of some immigrants to any country. The ruling overturns a lower court order which blocked the deportation of several detainees to South Sudan.
It allows President Trump to send illegal aliens convicted of rape, murder, homicide, assault, battery, crimes against children to any country around the world that is willing to accept them. So whether that be South Sudan, or whether it be Somalia, or whether it be Ethiopia.
3 liberal justices sharply dissented, saying the decision is rewarding lawlessness. Justice Sonia Sotomayor saying the Trump administration had already acted in violation of unambiguous lower courts. She added, "This is not the first time the court closes its eyes to noncompliance, nor, I fear, will it be the last." A Homeland Security official calls the ruling a victory for the safety and security of the American people. Fire up the deportation planes. But late last night, a federal judge in Boston said the men at the center of the case, those sent to South Sudan, are protected while the legal case plays out. Meanwhile, a separate immigration case stirring controversy. Video shows a violent workplace arrest in California. Marine veteran Alejandro Barranco says his father, Narcisco, was arrested by masked agents while landscaping at an IHOP restaurant. He says his father is undocumented, having been in the U.S. since the 90s, but has no criminal history.
He's always dedicated his life to work. That's all I've ever known him as, just a hardworking guy, kind guy. He's a good dad.
Authorities say Narcisco swung a weed whacker and resisted arrest, but video shows no apparent assault on officers.
So what's crazy about this is why I talk about the dangers of a conservative-leaning Supreme Court. I say it all the time. This is why Taco is confident sometimes, a little too overconfident, because if a lower court really doesn't go his way, what does he do? We're going to take it to the Supreme Court. We're going to take it to the Supreme Court, where he has home field advantage, because the current Supreme Court is conservative-leaning, and it amazes me every time someone goes to the Supreme Court. I keep thinking it's going to swing right. And why do I think it's going to swing right? Because when you have more conservative judges than you do liberal and progressives, a lot of things will slide through that doesn't make any sense. And we have talked about deportations on here all the time. That unfortunately, Taco has made a promise that that he's unable to cash in on. And the Nazi behind him, Stephen Miller, wants these illegal immigrants to be deported by any means necessary. At the same time, I will never understand that these modern day Gestapo, these ICE and Department of Homeland Security agents, that masked up as they are, which I think it's funny, they're all masked up. Even here in my home state of Nashville, I see ICE agents out all the time, along with the Tennessee Highway Patrol people. By the way, fuck y'all. Masked up all the time. And again, what are you masked up for? If you are the police and you're doing your job, or you're a federal law enforcement officers and you're doing your job, why the mask? Why masked up as if you are the modern day Gestapo? And on top of that, the fact that they're going to Home Depot, schools, graduations, things of that nature to round up these people, simply put, because they might be undocumented, might. And these are folks that are actually working, not the rapists, killers, worst of their countries that Taco claims them to be. Less than 1% of the people they rounded up so far actually had criminal records. Less than 1%. So you're telling me that all this money that is being put into ICE, that is being put in the Department of Home Security, where Christine Noem, basically ICE Barbie, is failing to do her job, less than 1% of all those that have been swept up and basically given the fast food due process, which lack thereof, less than 1% of them are actually have a criminal record. Even more so, I just wonder about some people who have buyer's remorse, like this next story. Again, you're a Marine whose wife was snatched up in the middle of the night, and yet you're not as angry as I thought you'd be.
Detained are non-citizens with pending deportation orders. Since President Trump returned to the White House, those undocumented immigrants, along with those convicted of crimes, have been prioritized for arrest. CBS's Katie Weiss reports from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. On one detention, a Marine veteran is calling a betrayal.
What happened? I come home from work and my best friend, my partner, isn't here.
Being a single dad was never in this Marine veteran's plans. But it's been his reality since May, when Adrian Cluot and his wife Paula went to an immigration check-in.
Which turned out to be 3 ICE agents there to arrest my wife.
What was going through your mind?
I was furious. I felt betrayed. I mean, they told us we had passed the interview.
The married couple had just welcomed their second child, a baby girl. They also have a toddler.
They knew I was a veteran. They just ripped her away from me and her children, from her breastfeeding the, newborn daughter. It's almost inhumane.
He says they were going through the proper channels to get her a green card, but U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services says she ignored a deportation order in 2018. His wife was brought to the U.S. at 14 by her mother, who was seeking asylum, but claims she was later abandoned.
My wife was not only a minor, but homeless when that removal order was issued. Her mom skipped the appointment. My wife was living in a homeless shelter in CPS care, and there was no way for her to know about the removal order.
The U.S. has long had a program called Parole in Place, which gives military family members who are undocumented a streamlined path to a green card. But the Trump administration has made non citizens with pending deportation orders a priority for arrests.
Hey, baby.
Adrian Cluad now only sees his wife when he drives his kids 8 hours each week to visit her in a Louisiana detention center.
All right, I love you. I want my kids to remember who their mom is. You know, I don't want her to be gone for the next, God knows how long, and she becomes a distant memory for them. Come on.
She's one of more than 6,600 non citizen parents of U.S. citizen children detained in the last 9 months. Katie Weiss, CBS.
So what's crazy about that story is the Marine there voted for Trump. He voted. And when asked, he doesn't regret his vote. He said, and I just want, because people go sit there and say, well, I find it hard to believe because he married somebody and he didn't say that. Okay, let me go ahead and get to the point. Quote unquote, I am all for getting criminals out the country, right? But the people that are here working hard, especially the ones married to Americans, I mean, there has always been a path to secure a green card. It is amazing to me the level of delusion. The level of delusion, folks, that a lot of these cult members actually have. And what I mean by that is the fact that you voted thinking it doesn't affect you. That's the part that will always kill me. You will vote like it doesn't affect you. And in turn, through karma, it does affect you. And instead of you sitting there saying, well, I mean, it wasn't supposed to happen to me. This is what a lot of us were screaming from the rooftops, literally just last year. Before November of last year, we all screamed from the rooftops. If you vote for Taco, this is going to happen. But you felt, oh, well, I'm an Army vet. My wife is on track to getting her green card. They won't come after her. Sir, have you not seen the news where folks were getting snatched from immigration courts? You had ICE sitting outside immigration courts where folks have won their cases, won their protection of stays, won their asylums, won the process of getting their green cards and becoming citizens. Nobody that left those immigration courts went out immediately running. They were walking because they thought they were safe. Whereas masked up ICE agents picked them up, put them in an unmarked van, and hauled them off to God knows where. Why did you think your wife would be any different? And it's amazing to me that the level of, how could I put this ever so nicely? Lacking of anger. It's almost like I trust the president. I trust, they're gonna get rid of all the criminals. And I'm easily reminded again. I am easily reminded how easy it is to start a cult when you have folks that would rather listen than follow instead of question and think. But that's just one of many stories. And again, the cult is real. Although I would be mad if I was in Texas right now because Texas Governor Greg Abbott has done something. Well, let me put it to you this way. This man, again, he banned porn, certain porns. He banned porn from Texas. Certain porn sites can't access in Texas no more. Not just Texas, other states as well. The thing that he also did was ban all THC consumables. That means THC. That means anything that contains cannabis, vapes, gummies, other products can no longer be sold in state. So again, it amazes me that cannabis in 2025 is still treated like prohibition back in the 1920s. That for some odd reason, that when it comes to a plant that we cannot simply just accept it. We cannot accept the fact that, that plant is a cash crop. We've seen it happen in many cities and states where it is legal. Colorado being a shining example of it. But it amazed me in Texas. You banned porn, you banned cannabis. All I got to sit there and say is, I can understand why the state of Texas might be a little bit hostile. But again, Texas did elect Governor Greg Abbott, and I'm not surprised by that. I really am not. It's almost like you are asking for a melting pot of things to occur if you are not careful. But again, it's Texas, and in the South, we have this competition called Hold My Beer, and they are currently the reigning champions. Moving right along, guys. Talk about healthcare for a second, because Robert F. Kennedy, our current Secretary of Health, tinfoil hat conspiracy anti-vaxxer, has let us know that the biggest health insurer providers in our country are looking and pledging the way to do prior authorizations. Where have we heard this one before?
Jason Probst has chronic inflammation. He says it took hours on the phone and 4 denials to finally get his insurance to approve the medication he needs. This sounds like a nightmare.
It is a nightmare. It felt like a deliberate attempt to delay the treatment that I needed.
The process of prior authorization is a headache for many patients like Probst. It requires doctors to get sign-off from insurance companies before certain care can occur. Each year, health insurance companies issue millions of denials, refusing to pay for doctor-recommended treatments based on their own assessment. Is this system broken?
Yes, I think we're getting worse patient outcomes because of it.
Mike Tuffin is the CEO of AHIP, the organization representing major insurance companies. Do you agree this process is broken?
Yes, the experience is not working for people.
Which today announced a series of commitments to simplify prior authorization, including applying the process more selectively and expanding real-time responses.
We're trapped in this outdated system with paper and fax machines. We want to abolish all of it. We want a digital, interconnected system that puts the patient in charge.
But some doctors are skeptical, pointing to previous industry pledges that didn't pan out.
I have to see it to believe it. And so I love the intention, but I would really like to see happier, healthier patients, which we're not seeing right now.
And with that, Aaron joins us live in studio. So, Aaron, the big question is, what is the industry saying when patients are going to see these changes?
The CEO of AHIP told me it'll take time, changes possibly beginning next year. Doctors and patients will be watching.
Yes, prior authorizations. You've seen them. You've probably been a victim of them, and you probably hate insurance companies because of them. But RFK is coming out and saying, we got a pledge from the biggest healthcare providers in our country, and they're telling us we are going to change the way we do prior authorizations. The rest of us are like, we've heard this before. Because here's the thing about prior authorizations. Prior authorizations is nothing more than health insurance companies having a nice legal way not to pay for Americans. That's it. You want this additional medicine? Prior authorization. You want this surgery? Prior authorization. You need an MRI or something else done? You need prior authorization. It amazes me that we are supposedly in a country, in a world of first, that we are still dealing with health. We're doing healthcare from the Stone Age. But it's not really the Stone Age. It's really just healthcare companies finding a way to screw us over. Because again, healthcare companies basically turn down costs by basically putting in systems. We literally, 2-3 months ago, the CEO of United Healthcare, former CEO, I should say, the former CEO of United Healthcare was 86. And then we come to find out that he was part of a system that was put in place, an AI-generated system that was to deny authorizations and claims for United Health benefit customers. A system that was automatically designed to deny claims, including prior authorizations. I'm not saying because of that man met his end. I am just saying when you screw over people, karma does come back eventually. But you're telling me now that I'm going to believe the health insurance providers are now going to look at the way they do prior authorizations? Here's what you could do. And I'm just going to be honest with you. Here's what you literally and figuratively could do. United Healthcare, Aetna, Humana, Cigna. I can keep going down the list. You know who you are. Drop the prior authorizations. Prior authorizations do not help customers. They help companies. Much like the HR department in your company. HR is not meant for you as an employer. They are meant to protect the company. That's what HR is designed for. In the same sense that prior authorizations for health insurance companies are not designed to help the customer. They are helped to design cost-saving measures for the actual health provider themselves. Because they can sit there and save money. That same money goes to bonuses and end of the year holiday parties. They don't go to help the consumer. While the consumer, who constantly pay, who makes sure their premiums are paid, gets screwed whenever they go to the doctor, whenever they go for their medicines, whenever they go for surgeries, things of that nature. They are constantly screwed. Why? Because the same thing that was put in place to save and make health insurance company their money and profit. It's the same thing that honestly could lead to a lot of Americans losing their life because they don't get the care or medicine in time. But hey, tell us another lie, because last time I checked, prior authorizations are still around. That also being said, guys, just a couple more stories to get to our feel good news segment. For some odd reason, Taco wants to basically still look into the 2020 election. You know, the one where he lost to Joe Biden, saying that he believes he won the election. Taco, you won. Okay? You are, unfortunately, the current president. You got voted in by a landslide, although the last election back in November is now highly questioned. And it's starting to gain steam on that, because how you won the swing states is still iffy. That being said, it amazes me that he wants to direct a special investigator along with the Department of Justice to look into the 2020 election because he believes he didn't lose it. Sir, let it go. Biden has got bigger fish to fry, and it's, apparently he still lives rent-free in your freaking head. Let it go. The last two stories I got, guys, again, is of three stories. Basically, the first two I'm covering is that, well, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard, or as I like to call her, compromised Director of National Intelligence, and also current Director of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, are basically on the outs with Taco for basically, failing, because apparently Tulsi Gabbard did not agree with Trump's assessment of Iran and Israel. And Kristi Noem, as we've covered multiple times on the show, is basically the most ineffective Director of Homeland Security, and being over ICE, that she has literally blown through budgets, has basically massive lawsuits as immigrants are suing for unlawful arrest, things of that nature, including legal citizens, and the fact that, well, she's starting to lose confidence. Although I will point out in Kristi Noem's case, 5 Democrats voted to confirm her, and that will always mess with me. And which 5 are you wondering? I'm glad you asked. Senator Elisa Sokin, Gary Peters, both of Michigan, Maggie Hassan and Jane Shaheen of New Hampshire, and John Fetterman of Pennsylvania. They were the 5 Democrats who basically, along with Republicans, voted unanimously to basically confirm Kristi Noem as Department of Homeland Security. I just want to point that out. Why? Because again, guys, when it comes to midterms, not just Republicans, call out the Democrats. Call out everybody for their actions. Because understand, this very time next year, things will be sweeter. What I mean by that is Republicans and senators want to talk to you, want to spend more time with you, more airtime, more town halls, more appearances, more time on the Breakfast Club. Well, some of them. more time on Fox News and MSNBC and The View, more time on Morning Joe, because we have to put ourselves out there. We have to make sure that you elect us. We have to make sure that we keep our gravy trains running. And that's the truth. But in that time, I want people to question them. Republicans and Democrats, hold them accountable to what they did vote for, what they voted against, and at the same time, what has been done on their end. And I mean, hold both accountable, because Democrats, especially those 128, hold them accountable. The five that voted to confirm Kristi Noem as Department of Homeland Security, I believe the 10 or so that confirmed Tulsi Gabbard as Director of National Intelligence. And I believe there were a few Democrats that actually did vote to confirm Kash Patel as the Director of the FBI. The point I'm getting at here, folks, is, and also the same guys, and also the same people that voted to confirm RFK as Secretary of Health and Human Services. Hold them all accountable. That's the thing. Hold them all accountable come next year. Because if we want to change things or make Taco's life very difficult for the last 2 years of his presidency, it's going to have to be with a Democratic-controlled Senate and House. It's going to have to be. Otherwise, it's going to be another long ass 3 years. That's all I'm saying. But the last story I got, guys, unfortunately dealing with Robert F. Kennedy, because he did actually gut the Vaccine Advisor Board, and now he's basically handpicked his anti-vaxxers. They are now about to start to go over their agenda of vaccines, things of that nature, but they're skipping the COVID shots, and they are now going over what is possibly an anti-vaxxer's dream, going up against certain items that were put in vaccines to see whether or not they should be allowed. One of those is Thermosil. Thermosil is a vaccine that was basically added to them to basically make them safer. And again, been proven, been used since the 1990s. However, anti-vaxxers believe that because it's a form of mercury, that it could have some harmful effects on the human body. There is no studies out there to show that they have been harmful. But now that we actually have an anti-vaxxer with a group of anti-vaxxers that are currently in control of the vaccine agenda, this is where I say, again, trust your doctors. You can't really trust the vaccine. You can't trust the Vaccine Advisory Committee. You can't trust RFK. The CDC, albeit are still around, still can be trusted, along with the National Institutes of Health, and also many other other doctors' boards out there. Because again, please, oh please, do not trust RFK. He is a guy who is an anti-vaxxer who's basically trying to push his agenda on everybody. And I've said it before, and I'll say it again: if you are anti-vaxxing, you are an effing idiot. But that being said, guys, we're going to move on to our feel-good segment, because usually on How the Frack We Got Here, we do a lot of things, and doom and gloom sometimes make you faith in humanity. But hey, it's Wednesday. Tomorrow's Thursday. We'll leave you guys out some good notes and some positive vibrations, and hopefully the next story will do that, about a story of a person that's using their scholarship to help others. And I mean, especially in the world of higher education.
Only good thing about Hoda being off is I get to do the boost, and a high school senior who's headed to Harvard surprised everyone at her graduation ceremony. Listen to this. Verda Teta was awarded a $40,000 scholarship for general excellence, but she decided to give it up so the money can go to someone else.
I am so very grateful for this, but I also know that I am not the one who needs this the most. And knowing my mom went to community college and how much that was helpful, I would be so very grateful if administration would consider giving the general excellence scholarship to someone who's going to community college, because I know it is such a great honor, but I also know that I am not the most in need of it.
Wow. What a moment. The audience gave Verda a standing ovation as the principal praised her for a generous and selfless act.
And I thought that was pretty cool, because again, If you hadn't heard what I talked about earlier, going to college is pricey, and I mean pricey. And the fact that she had a $40,000 scholarship that really she decided that she wanted to give to somebody else or be able to distribute among multiple potential college students. That's great. There's nothing more that's created. I mean, there's nothing more you can say about that aside that giving somebody a chance to literally go to college and to potentially graduate debt free, which we did see a lot of HBCUs this year beforehand, did get the gift of a debt free education. Because again, I will tell you this off the bat: having a student loan sucks. But if you're able to graduate without a student loan, cool. But let's also not forget the trade schools that are out there. Let's not also forget if you want to start your own business, college is not always college is one of many avenues that you can take. You can do trade schools, you can go into business for yourself, you can learn to do other things. Trust me, college is not the only route, but if that's what you choose, cool. But if not, always look for other things, especially things they don't tell you about, because why? We need to have more people out there of various trades, professions, and things of that nature. But that being said, guys, that's going to do it for this podcast. Thank you all for liking, for watching, for letting people know this is live. I certainly appreciate that. Some shameless plugging before we do get out of here. Shout out to Always Press Record. Why? Because How the Frack We Got Here is on there. You can definitely check them out on APR TV on the Roku channel app or the Amazon Fire TV at APR TV. And again, more than just my show on there, guys. Plenty of other shows out there for your viewing pleasure. Definitely run that up and find out what your favorites are on APR TV. BlurredStation.com. We talked about this now for going on 2 years, guys. A table that is our own, that has our content, things of that nature, movies, television, game shows, things of that nature. They are all coming to Blurred Station, and more news coming out soon. It's best to go ahead and jump on the bridge now while you can. Hit the join now button, select the Blurred's Eye View Affinity membership, select my name, Black Spartan, and again, it's $10.99 a month to stream Blurred Station on all smart devices. But definitely check out BlurredStation.com. And Run for Office. You've heard me talk about Run for Office now going on about almost 3 years. Because this is how Moms for Liberty did it. This is how the crazy people did it. This is how the overly religious did it. Basically, you can type in your address to see about areas that you could run into, that you can run for if you do feel the call for political service, whether it's local or national. Definitely check that out, and it will take you through that process on how you can run and hopefully be elected. Because I have sat there and said many times on the show, guys, it is getting to the point now where we have to have more than just us. We have to, because if we don't, nothing changes. We all have to be actors in some way, factor, form. As for us, guys, check out How the Frack We Got Here on all the socials, especially on YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, but definitely YouTube. Check us out there. Like, share, and subscribe, because much like NPR, guys, we simply cannot do any of this without your continued support. As for myself, guys, Black_Spartan615 is my personal page. You can follow me there. Just don't be weird. I do not want to get in the habit of blocking people. As we wrap this up, guys, again, don't doom scroll. We know taco is, well, taco. That being said, the world can seem on fire, especially right now with it being summer. So definitely hydrate. Please drink plenty of water. Please do not let the sun kill you like you're in Super Mario 3. At the same time, guys, protect your peace. Do something that makes you laugh, that makes you happy, that makes you think, that makes you feel. Go outside and enjoy nature under shade, because like I said, kind of hot outside right now. Check on your people. Call or text. Let them, check on them, make sure they're doing all right. At the same time, guys, protect your peace. That's all I'm saying. Protect your peace. Do what makes you happy, and if you can make somebody else happy, cool. That's all I'm saying. But again, stop with the doom scrolling. Sometimes just go outside, go enjoy yourself, and have some fun. Because eventually, because the world's still going to be there when we get back, but always protect your mental first. That being said, guys, last thing I'll say about How the Frack We Got Here, it's all about informing. That's all. We're not trying to reinvent the wheel. We're not trying to get you to think a certain way. Our mission statement here, guys, is to give you all the information and allow you to make up your own mind. We just provide a logical perspective that goes along with it. We do better as society once we're informed. We're progressive. We move forward. We try to right the wrongs of our past by making decisions now that we should have done back then. Like electing our first Black woman to the Supreme Court, electing our first Black woman to the Federal Board of Governors, maybe one day soon, electing our first Black woman to be the first Madam President. All great things. When we don't learn from history, we are doomed to repeat it. That's what we keep asking ourselves. Why does everything go up at our paycheck? Why are we electing different politicians in Congress, but still the same game is being played? And most importantly, how the frack we got here. Thank you all for watching, guys. Please take care of yourselves and each other, and I promise we'll get through this. Smile. It's not over yet. Peace.